Welcome, dear friends. Here we are with another Learning with Emmanuel series. A couple of times a week, we come together to study one of the chapters from one of the books of Emmanuel. In this case, we continue with the book Patience. In the book Patience by the Spirit Emmanuel, through the mediumship of Francisco Candido Xavier. Today's message is from chapter 18 that Emmanuel titled In the Difficult Moment. Dear friends, as we look around our daily lives, we look around the world, we observe what's going on within ourselves and around our communities. We do need a lot of patience because we do see ourselves in many difficult moments, right? So let's see what Emmanuel has to teach us today. He says, when distress knocks on your door, it is natural to worry, but also think about those around you. They all await your courage to guarantee their resistance. Let's first stop here. So, when distress knocks on our doors, has distress knocked on your door? Is possible. On a planet of trials and expiations undergoing planetary transition, it's very likely that we will have distress. And he says it's natural to worry. So, yes, we do worry. We have a nervous system that is designed to scan the environment, to look around for threats, right, based on our evolutionary path. And it is natural that we worry. But he says also think about others. So, when we are distressed, we have to think of others. All the time, Emmanuel reminds us that we think about others. Isn't that what Jesus did? Isn't that what Emmanuel has taught Chico Xavier throughout his life, right? He thought about others. Because the ones around us they wait for our courage to guarantee the resistance, to guarantee the resilience, guarantee that we're not going to give up in the moments of distress. So when we are distressed, we also know that anger, distress, different emotional stages can be contagious to others. So when I get stressed out, I can actually start stressing out the ones around us as well. Emmanuel will continue later in the message. When the trials present themselves to you in the form of inevitable items, it is because certain manifestations of the law of cause and effect are in progress. So he's saying the distress, the trials are presenting themselves to us because there's a law of cause and effect. What does that mean? It means something I did in this life or previous lives may have triggered an effect today. So the cause is maybe previous lives, most recent one, many centuries ago, so on and so forth. But there are manifestations of that law. Everything that you and I do, including choosing to remain calm in times of distress, can be an action we take today, so the effect tomorrow is calmness. Every action comes with an effect, action and reaction. The law of cause and effect being in progress, he continues, demanding that we adapt to the reality that sometimes only much later we will recognize as being the best that life could offer us. So today it seems like a trial. Today it seems like something that is stressful, something that is hindering me. But he says in the future, it may be the best life could offer us at this moment. Maybe that's the time I need to stop, take inventory of myself, my emotions, how I'm reacting, and to move on. It may be that it's time to take a pivot, to make different choices. Otherwise, if the distress doesn't come, we just keep bouldering. It might be that little snowball avalanche, right? So the distress comes for us to stop, look, and go. I'm paraphrasing from gratefulness.org. And today we don't see it. when we are in the storm of the planetary transition, going through our days trying to do the things that we do, physical things to take care of the physical body, spiritual things, taking care of others, working, family, we don't see that those trials are for our benefit, but in the future they will be recognized as so. In the same way as if we do a different thought exercise, a thought experiment of thinking of times in our past where we felt the trials, where we felt under the storm, but today we say, okay, that's what I needed for that time. But it took the vantage point of distance, right, for us to be able to recognize. But when we were in it, it was difficult. Now he's going to give us different examples. He says, some loved ones have lost their existence in this physical plane, imposing on you a heavy burden of longing and tears, right? People discarnate all the time, everywhere around the world. However, it's possible that in the future we'll come to consider similar occurrence as a result of celestial decree, freeing the departed creature from heavy suffering that it could be perhaps have paralyzed their movements or caused an imbalance in their cerebral faculties. So today, when we lose a loved one, we should grieve, we're going to miss them, that's normal. But he's saying maybe that was the way divine providence has removed that person from that situation, so he or she has not incurred more errors, or we didn't prevent them from moving forward in their progress. Now, next he says, a certain dear person will have exchanged their presence for the company of another person, leaving us on many occasions to forget their affection and devotion. How many of us have lost, um, spouses and companions to others? People leave, people go, and their affection and devotion is forgotten, or our affection for them is forgotten. And when we are undergoing that trauma, um, then it's hard. But he says, however, it's likely that after some time they will come to know what happened was a result of the inspirations from the Most High. Because we will learn that if this or that person had remained by our side, perhaps they would have fallen into the calamities of homicide or suicide, since we are not given the opportunity to know the innermost being of those who share our lives with us. So, yes, how we ask ourselves, how can someone who we love leaving us either through the loss of the physical body or physically moving from A to B, from relationship A to relationship B, be an inspiration from the Most High? Because at the time we think, why would God do this to me, right? Why me? But he says it could be that if they stayed with us, the combination of us would have allowed them to fall into the calamities of homicide or suicide, right? Direct or indirect suicide. Because we don't know who is there sharing our lives. You only see a sliver of what everyone shows us. And we only show people a certain so many facets of our lives. So we have to think about what they left. They have free will. They can choose to leave us. It's hard, but we are never alone. And what do? He continues, he says, in any crisis of existence, maintain constructive calm, since our mental stages are contagious, and by calming others, we'll especially be acting to help ourselves. So when I'm calm, I calm others. When others are calm, they calm me. And the easier way to each and every day, of course, we are giving big examples, this carnation of loved ones leaving us. But every day we can use tools such as the one that St. Augustine explains to us in the book, the Spirit's book, question 919, which is self-knowledge. So if each and every day I make an account of my deeds, a gratitude journal, things that I want to work on. So each and every day I'm exercising the muscle of knowing everything happens for a reason, looking at my life and my day in perspective so that I can move forward, so that I can see patterns that I want to change, going to work with a psychologist. Sometimes people need psychiatric help, spiritual help, so on and so forth. He says, even if your friends from other times do not recognize you in your days of restlessness, meaning sometimes we feel alone, but we're not, because he says next, God sees you, providing you with resources according to your needs. So, dear friends, in the difficult moment, know that God sees you. God sees you and I. He probes our thoughts and our innermost feelings. God and His divine providence send all of the resources abundantly throughout the universe that you and I need. We extract some, let others behind. Friends appears, friends go. Invisible and invisible hands come to help us because God sees you. So I hope that if in the future you reach a moment of difficulty, you remind ourselves of the need for constructive calm and patience. Dear friends, it's always a joy and a blessing to be with you. And with the Learning with Emmanuel series, we, God willing, wish to be back with you soon enough. See you next time. Bye bye.